Luana Moss, the hat lady. Today I've got on my patriotic hat. Um, the sun's shining and it's a beautiful day here in St. Louis, and I am ready to talk to you today about Genesis chapter 12. This is a story of Abram. We know that God had a plan from the very beginning of earth, even before Adam and Eve sinned and brought sin into our nature. God had a plan to redeem us. We see that, or we have seen that as the people population exploded, um, more and more people, more and greater sin. In fact, it was so evil that God had to get rid of everyone, even the animals, to save his creation. So he chose Noah, and he had Noah build the big boat, the big ark, to save people, the family of Noah, and to save animals. So we know as we look back that Jesus is our ark of salvation. But they didn't know that then. They didn't quite understand. But God's given us a good picture of his salvation plans. We saw then after Noah that the land was corrupt again. People went back to their sin. They built the Tower of Babel to worship other gods. They wanted to be God themselves. So they rejected the true living God. This might be a story that you want to teach your children in between too. It's a good story. But today we're looking at Abram and how God now has chosen to go through one man, Abram, and bless all the nations through this one man, Abram. Genesis 12, starting with verse 1. Now the Lord said to Abram, go forth from your country. He was from the land of Ur. Go forth from Ur. Leave your relatives. Leave all the people you know. And go from your father's house to a land that I will prepare for you. I'll show you. He didn't even know where he was going. Abram didn't. And I will make you a great nation, and I will bless you and make your name great. God made great promises to Abram. So you shall be a blessing, and I will bless those who bless you, and the one who curses you, I will curse. And in your family, all the families of the earth will be blessed. Don't we have that blessing today? We have that blessing because of Abram, and because through his line, we have Jesus. Jesus came, he died, was buried, and rose again, conquering death. He is our ark of salvation. He is our way of escape. He is our way back to God. So Abram went forth just as the Lord had spoke to him. And guess what? Lot went with him. Even Abram's father, Terah, went. As so far, he went to the land, he went a little ways with him. He went to Haran, and they stopped in Haran. And then after Terah died in Haran, then Abram and Lot went on to the land of Canaan, and they set out for the land of Canaan. Thus they came to the land of Canaan, and Abram passed through the land as far as the site of Shechem. This is another town in that area, to the oak of Moreh. And the Lord appeared to Abram and said, to your descendants I will give the land. So Abram built an altar there to the Lord who had appeared to him. And then he proceeded from there to the mount on the east of Bethel. And he pitched his tent with Bethel on the west and Ai on the east. And there he built an altar to the Lord. And called on the Lord's name. So Abram worshiped God in that place where God had taken him. And God had promised him all the land. Now, our symbol for this story is a tent. Abraham was a shepherd. So what I did was first take a little bit of green, flatten it out to whatever size you want for your land. Abram was a shepherd. So we're going to put a tent there because he was what we call today a nomad. Make a little square out of some brown or whatever color you want your tent to be. Bend it so that you have like a tent shape. Open it up and you've got a tent shape. You can take the back and bend it down and so that it meets together. Squeeze it together so that you have a back to your tent. And then I usually just flip up the sides like you would a tent. So it kind of looks like a tent shape. Now you might want your tent to look a little bit different from mine. I think some of the Mideastern tents did look a little bit different, but I just kept mine like we used to tent camp and had tents, so it's kind of like an American tent, I guess. But you might want yours a little bit different as you study. Then this will just fit on top of your green. See, I have it fitted there. So you've got your flat and your tent on top of that. Now, since Abram was shepherd, I wanted a little sheep to go on it. And I had a little sheep from one of my little kits that I had bought. It was nativity kit, and it had a sheep in it. So I just took that one to get an idea of how to make one, because I'm going to show you how I would make one. See how his body is kind of oblong and round, and his head is a little bit smaller and rounded. Well, and then the feet are kind of chunky. That's what I did. I took a little white and I made a tiny little ball, and then I made it oval looking. I rounded it down and made it oval looking. Then I took a smaller little round piece for the head and I made it into a ball, and then I kind of squeezed it to make it into cone shape, so that it has a little bit of a point on it, because you see if on our one that I bought, it has a little point on it. I just made mine white though, and then you can put that on your oval thing. You can take a little end of a fork or a knife and kind of rub those together so that it blends in and looks like a head shape. See how you've got the oval part of your, kind of little here, oval part with your head shape there, and then take your feet and put that in. I got 4 little balls that I kind of made chunky looking. I made them oblong and like a tube, kind of, and then you just put your four little feet on there, and you can take your plastic fork. End of a fork is what this is, plastic fork, and it just, you can kind of just rub it together so that it blends in with the body real well. And take your other little feet. So you have your 4 little feet. Now, if you want, you can add some ears to this, and they're even tinier little pieces of, I don't know if you can see them on the screen or not, little tiny, to put on as ears. little tiny ball. And just put those on with ears for ears. You can take your fork and kind of work them around so that they connect to your head real well. Then what I did was I took a long piece, snake-like, real thin and long. Real thin and long. This is for the fur of your animals, of your sheep, because you can take it here and start it and make little circles all around your, you can see this. I'm trying to get this where you can see it, but you can take this and make it little bitty circles on your thing, and it'll look like fur of the sheep. Just keep wrapping it in circles all over the body. If it breaks, just keep using it, put it in something else in it, and little swirls all over the body, so it will look then like fur of the sheep. And then you can put eyes on it. Put some little gray eyes in there, little teeny tiny things. And you can take your fork and separate your legs and kind of invent your legs the way you want them. Putting everything together, your tail and all of that. Some of those little swirls got, so I just poked some openings there so that you can still see the swirls. And you've got your little lamb. I don't know if you can tell it. And that then will just fit on top of your ornament like that, and your other green. You may have to just hook it there a little bit, press it down into the green, or press the green up into the animals so that they're connected. And that should bake together. If it comes apart, just take a little glue after it's baked and glue it back. I think it will fit together though when you bake it, and not come loose. So be sure you take something and make a hole. This is another one that I usually don't leave my hook in it for baking. I just make sure I have a big hole that your hook will fit in when it's dry. And you can maneuver that around. Be sure your tent is hooked to your green pretty good. You can kind of mash it together. And mash your sheep together, and you have your symbol for Abram. Okay, thank you for listening to my presentation, and we'll see you the next time.